So welcome to the 13th online seminar in this series, which we have titled Another Take on the I in ILUP, Integrated Land Use Planning for Land, Climate and Biodiversity Action. And we'll also look at the geospatial data needed for this process. So this session will be recorded. Please have that in mind and just have your camera maybe switched off if you're not happy to be recorded. Just a very few housekeeping rules, which I'm sure you know from other webinars. If you have a question during the discussions, please use the checkbox. Mute your microphones when you're not speaking, and raise your hand if you want to add to the discussion. If possible, during the Q&A session later, switch on your camera so that we can see you. Yeah, we'll have a brief look at the agenda here. So after the welcome and introduction, where we also briefly present the two initiatives which co-organized this webinar, we'll go into the presentations. I've given 25 minutes to each presenter, but if you help me to save 3 minutes each or so, we'll have a bit more time for discussion later. Sorry, my voice. Yeah, as I said, this is a joint webinar, jointly organized by the ELD, the Economics of Land Degradation Initiative, and GEO LDN. And I hand over to Johannes Kruse, the coordinator from the ELD Secretariat, to tell us a little bit about what ELD is doing. Over to you, Johannes.
Yes, thank you, Ben. Thank you very much. And it is great to see everyone in the line here, and thank you also to the speakers today for joining us and sharing your insights with us today. This is greatly appreciated and such a timely topic. So for those of you that don't know ELD and don't know me, my name is Johannes Kruse. I'm co-leading the Economics of Land Degradation Initiative, which has been around for 15 years now and is delivering global leadership, I would say, on the economics of land frontier. That means that we have since 2011 supported, I think, around 35 countries around the globe with around 50 case studies, cost benefit analysis, and other types of economic assessments. All the material that we have produced over the last 15 years are available online on our webpage. Most notably, we have gained a new ELD mandate from the UNCCD COP16 last year, which invites the ELD initiative to collaborate specifically with the GM and the SBI. And we're currently on topics around economics of land and drought. And most notably also, we have produced a few landmark reports in recent years. The most known one probably is the State of Finance for Nature report series, which I think has around 300 million Google views or something like that. It's incredible. Then last year, we have also produced Economics of Drought report for the next COP in Mongolia. We're working on a new global flagship report on the economics of rangelands restoration. And then also very important for this endeavor today and going forward, our work with Alisher Mirzabaev, who's in the line today to share insights and the way forward on the economics of real synergies, integrative land, biodiversity and climate action. And what we have in mind there for this path forward will be shared by Alisher, as I said, and will also be a collaboration with UNCCD, GM and FAO. So I'm very grateful that we have the perfect match here of speakers in the line today for that topic. Thank you very much, Bernd. Back to you.
Thank you, Johannes, for that brief overview of ELD. Yeah, over to GEO LDN, and indeed, GEO LDN is a proud part of the GEO family, the Group on Earth Observations, which is an intergovernmental partnership of more than 116 governments worldwide and many organizations from academia, private sector, the United Nations, and so on. And the goal is to bring together the EO, the Earth observations community, with people who use the data to share and exchange and to empower people to take well-informed decisions on their environmental resources. And as I said, yeah, we are one of the initiatives within GEO. So about 8 years ago, the United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification asked GEO to support it in the implementation of the convention, and GEO responded by establishing a new work plan activity, the GEO Land Degradation Neutrality Initiative, which has grown into a flagship, one of the bigger initiatives, relatively fast. And you can imagine GEO LDN as a global network. So please excuse my geography. The placement of the logos does not indicate the true location, but I didn't want to present a white slide. So you see some of our key contributors who take over responsibility in the leadership of the flagship, of the working groups, who contribute in kind or through contractual relationships. And like the ELD initiative, GEO LDN initiative, the secretariat is hosted by GIZ, the German Development Agency, for the time being. And for us, it's quite important to stress that GEO LDN is not a producer of data or tools itself. We are a platform, a catalyst to get processes started, a platform to convene people and projects and institutions in the framework or in the context of land degradation neutrality. Johannes mentioned it already. We have a really great lineup of speakers today. And in the interest of time, I'll only say 1 or 2 sentences and ask the speakers also to introduce themselves a little bit more. So we have Feras Ziadat from the FAO, and he's a land and water officer. They're very much involved in the new version of the ILUP guidelines. We have Aksoy from the Global Mechanism of the UNCCD, and she's a program officer for integrated land use planning there. And we have Alisher Mirzabaev, a senior scientist for policy analysis and climate change, the International Rice Research Institute, and he also has been involved, as Johannes hinted at already, for a long time in the economics of land degradation. So a big thank you already to the 3 of you. We are very happy to have you here because, yeah, it's as the title suggests, it's about the leveraging synergies between the different environmental conventions and environmental goals. And with your work, I think you're ideal to shed a bit more light on how it all fits together and where the synergies are and how, let's say, ILUP and LDN match so well together. Thank you very much again, and I hand over to Feras for the first presentation.
Thank you very much, Bernd, and thanks first to the organizers for bringing this topic, very timely, very important topic. And also just to highlight the collaboration, the long collaboration with GEO LDN on this topic in ILUP. We had several events before, even in COP16. Also the collaboration with ELD, GIZ, and Alisher, IRRI. This is very important. I think we had some discussion in COP, and I see now we are moving to some practical actions and work together. So I will try on this to link or to try and make the linkages between ILUP and multiple benefits on the land, on the climate, on the biodiversity, etc. So on behalf of FAO, I am very pleased to present a quick overview of the integrated land use planning guidelines which is currently in the process of update following a global consultation process. And I will attempt to highlight how integrated land use planning can support sustainable landscape, biodiversity protection, and climate action. So in 1993, FAO published the guidelines for land use planning as the first key source of knowledge to implement a step-by-step approach to land use planning. A follow-up document were published in 1999 by FAO and UNEP, and on 2017 by FAO. Sorry, do you see my slide clear? Yeah, okay. The increasing concern about food security, environmental sustainability have led to greater emphasis on conservation and sustainable land use practices. And in that, integrated land use planning is an integral part of the UN 2030 strategic framework and for FAO strategic framework as part of its broader objectives for sustainable agriculture and natural resources management. Given these challenges and other emerging issues, the update of the 1993 guidelines for land use planning became necessary. FAO launched a process of update of the guidelines through wide consultation process with various stakeholders. And this seminar served the purpose of consultation, global consultation, to give an idea of the guidelines and how we can together develop the guidelines to respond to these emerging issues. FAO defines land use planning as the systematic assessment of land and water potential alternatives for land use and economic and social conditions in order to select and adopt the best land use options. The selected options are those which increase productivity on sustainable basis, which also support resilient livelihoods and meet the need of the society. And in order to select the most optimum options, the integration of various sectors and the participation of all the relevant stakeholders are necessary. Therefore, the updated guidelines are integrated and participatory, and we will explain this more in details. Now, how do we reach different status of either degradation and vulnerability of resources or sustainability? Usually unfavorable climatic conditions coupled with mismanagement or misuse of resources can increase degradation and vulnerability. On the other hand, the adoption of favorable practices and implementing sustainable land and water management options will enhance sustainability and resilience. And therefore, understanding which part of land resources is under threat is vital for selecting and putting in practice the most efficient and affordable solutions. Integrated land use planning assists the land users in choosing land uses and adopting sustainable options. Therefore, it is an entry point to help decision makers and communities to reverse the trend toward more productive, more sustainable, and resilient agri-food systems. So, if we have mismanagement, unfavorable climate conditions, we end up with degradation. If we want to reverse this trend, we need to change the land use through the integrated land use planning in order to reverse the trend to go back to sustainability and resilience. And by this, we mean land degradation, we mean biodiversity, we mean also resilience to climate change. Now, what is new in these guidelines? First of all, moving from top-down land use planning to integrated and participatory land use planning. So this is a paradigm shift in land use planning, looking at more participatory and integrated approach. Integrating international commitments such as the SDG and the Rio Conventions into the national planning process. And this is new because the countries are committed to achieve various targets and commitments and using indicators for land degradation, biodiversity, and the climate change. And these guidelines that we are updating now are looking exactly at those commitments and how at national level we can help the countries to achieve various targets through integrated land use planning, and added to this the economics, which Alisher will also cover, and Eshe will also talk more about land degradation neutrality. Now, these processes are complemented by integrated land use planning at subnational and local level. So I will present later how these are related from the local level up to the global and international commitments. Most importantly of these guidelines are the people, because these guidelines will consider the people at the center of the planning process, and looking at the needs and capacity of the people, the diversity of people, etc., is very important. So these guidelines are realizing the key role of land users and communities affected by the planning. The guidelines are addressing the emerging issues of land use planning, such as climate change, restoration of degraded land, land degradation neutrality, and biodiversity maintenance. Looking also at the water, at the peri-urban and urban agriculture, looking at the tenure and land rights of women and indigenous peoples, mainstreaming, upscaling, and outscaling of land use planning results. So these are all emerging issues that the guidelines are trying to include and to integrate in the planning process. Let's look at the multi-scale integrated land use planning exercise. The guidelines realizes the strong linkages between land use and management at different levels. At the global level, integrated land use planning is important to ensure the achievement of international commitments and Rio conventions. At the national level, ILUP is useful to prepare national land use plans at strategic level, looking at the policies and the priorities at national level, while at the subnational, the district level, the goal is to be more specific of the district challenges and the priorities, and at local level to deal with farm planning and detailed land use and management actions. So ILUP meant to connect the various levels and ensure two-way interaction where the global priority and commitments are reflected in the national to local planning and vice versa. So what is happening on the ground is reflected on the national level and consequently at the global level, and what is committed at the global level is implemented at national, subnational, and local level to ensure that the process is complete and the commitments are explained and implemented at the local level. The guidelines, when we come to the structure of the guidelines, there are 9 steps, and this is a stepwise approach. We will explain how it is iterative, but first we go into the steps, which not necessarily to be implemented, all of them. It depends on the planning exercise, but these steps include the initiation of the planning process. Identifying the stakeholders is very important, because here we bring the different actors and different sectors in the process, and then establish a multidisciplinary task force. We are looking here at several sectors together, and that is different than the traditional planning, the sectoral planning. And here is the synergies, how we create the synergies and we support the synergies. Then coming the characterization of the resources. And then another step, which is very important, is the appraisal of the land use options. And here is another chance where we bring in different angles, such as climate change, biodiversity, land degradation, where we appraise the land use options in order to reach the most optimum land use at certain area. These options are negotiated among the stakeholders, and this is a very important step in order to bring in the vision which was brought in at the beginning, but now Since we have options, we have solutions, we need to discuss those solutions with communities, with the stakeholders, all players in the area, including different sectors and different actors. And this is very important step in order to ensure the voices of everyone is here. The optimization and the trade-off is also there. And here also some angle where economics can come in the appraisal process and the discussion with the stakeholders. And then we go into the preparation of the plan, the implementation, and the important step of monitoring and revising the plan, because this process is iterative, going backward and forward to fine-tune and ensure trade-offs and optimization of land use options. And here, the use of economic evaluation, social evaluation, environmental evaluation is very important in this process. Also, the plan should be a live document and revised regularly to ensure responses to changing conditions. The economics is changing, the social aspects are changing, so we need to revise these plans at least every 5 years to make sure that we are responding to the changes. How we do the, let's say, the synergies between the different aspects such as land degradation, biodiversity, climate, environment, social, economic, and other indicators. The list could be longer than that. We choose indicators for each, and then these indicators will be scored depending on the land use option that was proven to be a good option, because the land suitability is used to identify the potential productivity of crops. But that doesn't include the impact on climate, for example, or the impact on biodiversity, or the markets. Here, the suitability gives us an idea of the potential. But then we need to look at the land use options to be ranked based on expert selected groups of criteria. And here we can include several criteria such as land degradation, biodiversity, climate, environmental, etc. And this list is not inclusive. We can imagine in any area at national or subnational level other important indicators that could be included. The users can score the land use options according to the selected criteria and add these scores to find out the optimum option, land use options for their case. So the idea of this matrix is to look at those indicators and how much each of those land use types help in achieving the goals through the final scoring that is given for each option. The final score ensures that all criteria are optimum, and therefore the selected land use would help in achieving multiple benefits in terms of food security, land degradation, climate change, biodiversity, as well as other environmental, social, and economic factors. We are piloting this approach. We will give some examples, but we'll also, this will be explained more by Alisher and colleagues and Alisher, but the piloting of this approach is ongoing in collaboration with the global mechanism of the UNCCD and ELD. Now, how can we proceed with this with these guidelines? First of all, we are looking at different decisions that acknowledge the importance of the effective implementation of integrated land use planning, such as the COP decisions at various COPs, applying also responses and hierarchy to measure or measures to avoid, reduce, and reverse land degradation. Also, it is important to mention that the parties recommended strengthening institutional and governance frameworks to prioritize policies for integrated land use planning and management that are aligned with the Sustainable Development Goals and other commitments of the Rio Conventions. For example, land use changes is a specific sector within the UNFCCC, Also target 1 of the Kunming Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework. Target 1 also in ensuring that all areas are under participatory, integrated, and biodiversity inclusive spatial planning. So we have the roots of land use planning in the LDN. We have it in the UNFCCC as well as in the Global Biodiversity Framework. And that where the idea came on the synergies and bringing integrated land use planning to support and enhance the synergies. There are 5 FAO country offices acting as executing partners for the global mechanism and IUCN project on LDN target setting. For example, in Argentina, Panama, Macedonia, Azerbaijan, and Turkey. We are proposing to complement these activities with integrated land use planning by providing training and technical backstopping. And also we are joining forces with ELD-GIZ to implement the project, the economics of Rio synergies supporting land biodiversity climate action through integrated land use planning and data systems in Mongolia, which Alisher, I think, will talk about. But this is a collaboration again with GIZ, ELD, UNCCD, the Global Mechanism, and FAO. And this is funded by Federal Ministry of Economic Cooperation and Development, BMZ. The scaling out of this approach in other countries is possible in order to enhance the role of integrated land use planning in achieving land degradation neutrality, enhancing climate resilience and sustainable management and use of biodiversity. I thank you very much for listening and for the opportunity to present the guidelines as well as the opportunities of enhancing the synergies between Rio Conventions. And these are some sources of knowledge and information and the contact in case you have any question. Thank you. Back to you, Ben. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Feras, for your presentation of the ILUP guidelines as a practical framework and also of the ingredients needed to make ILUP an effective instrument in the planning of resources and in bringing multiple environmental goals together. Thank you very much. Unless there are urgent questions for Feras, I would propose that you keep them for the later discussion and we go ahead with the second presentation. So I would hand over to Aksoy from the Global Mechanism. And the title of her presentation is Leveraging ILUP to Safeguard Land Resources and Biodiversity, Insights from the GM Perspective. Floor is yours, Ece.
Thank you very much. I hope you can see my screen.
We can.
Yes,
very good.
Perfect. Thank you, Bernd. I'm very happy to be here, and after presenting my colleague Feras, it's really a wonderful talk, and he explained already many details, and I will also present here many complementary details. I'm Aksoy, and I lately started in Global Mechanism of UNCCD. And I will give some insights about our projects, main important projects. Yes, I think it's proceeding. Yeah, as you all know, UNCCD, United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification, was established in 1994. It is the only legally binding international agreement linking environment and development to sustainable land management. And Global Mechanism is an institution of UNCCD, which mandated to assist countries in the mobilization of financial resources from the public and private sector for their activities to prevent, control, or reverse desertification, land degradation, and drought. Yeah, as I said, here I will mainly focus on 2 projects. One is land degradation neutrality target setting project. Other one is integrated land use planning related one. But there are many other projects, of course, in UNCCD. But this is this project, LDN project, is directly adapted, became operational after adopted the SDG target 15.3, and UNCCD is implementing this project. As of today, 131 countries engaged in setting these land degradation neutrality targets, which they are country-led, voluntary-based, and with the best available data on LDN indicators. Here is extremely important, best available data. And 124 countries have already set, validated, and reported their LDN targets. And 76 countries have officially adopted LDN targets at high political level. These are extremely important numbers. And as you see here, this LDN targets is nearly 600 million hectares of degraded land pledged for restoration globally. I think this has a very important, big impact on globally, and this constitutes the single largest contribution of country commitments to the global ecosystem restoration agenda, together with the NDCs and MBSUPs. After that big global project setting, operational setting, LDN target setting program 2.0, which is a new generation of target setting, has started last year, and 18 pilot countries engaged in enhanced target setting processes to close their implementation gaps, deliver and meet land-based targets. The policy coherence assessments across Rio conventions is one of the deliverables, and it sets specific, spatially explicit, time-bound, quantitative targets. As you see here, there are many different deliverables and modules in this project. As of November 2025, all countries made their national work plans. The National LDN Working Group were activated in most of them. Inception workshops conducted, and most of them already assessed the policy coherence, and we already made 2 webinars, and everything is perfectly in progress. And in this project, we enhancing the monitoring, reporting, and verification capacity with the PRAISE-4, and the countries are spatially reporting their spatially explicit targets in this system. Already 10 of the countries submitted spatially explicit targets and data. This will be there is also the LDN decision support system in Google Earth engine-based application, this LDN TSP2 project is already also supporting the strengthening the Rio Convention synergies, because, for example, just the deliverable 8 is policy coherence assessment, is including NBC, NAPs, MBSUPs, and LDN all together, and it coordinates the resource mobilization strategies and joint technical meetings and communication mechanisms. I just would like to give one example. Lately, Panama showcased in Creek for a great example for the Rio Conventions, which is a high-level strategic instrument to ensure synergies and coherence among the Rio Conventions, which is the Nature Pledge. I think this is very strong, very nice example of how the countries will be considered three of the conventions together. Another example could be given as St. Lucia. It's pragmatic approach. They presented official letter to the three of the Rio conventions, and they combine the spatially explicit maps of targeted areas, all covering all three conventions in their policy coherence report. I just wanted to give the examples very shortly, but I want to focus on the second project that I'm the coordinator of the project. This project is lately started this year. In May, we had an inception workshop. It is aiming integrating the land degradation neutrality into the land use planning frameworks. This is a enabling activity project of GEF, and it is leveraging the LDN TSP work heavily. Here we are again focusing on 18 countries. That's LDN TSP to focusing, and here the aim is there are three components: enhancing capacity for improved land use planning that integrates LDN, assessing LDN implementation status and gaps, facilitate gender transformative LDN investment in this project. And the project responds to the priorities such as assessing LDN implementation, what are the challenges, how distant, what are the gaps from the targets, embedding the LDN into the existing frameworks, and countries. This project will provide countries to the new tools and approaches. And here, the ILUP is definitely the key mechanism, because, like Feras explained, its mechanism based on the harmonize the different geospatial decisions, assess trade-off, and stack the co-benefits like the carbon, biodiversity, and productivity to achieve the economic, social, and environmental benefits for the land users. That's why it's extremely important. In this project, we have already started with the enhancing the stakeholder list, because reaching out to the different experts, ILUP experts, and women, youth, indigenous community is extremely important here, because people are the land users, and that's why not only focusing on the national focal points, we wanted to extend our stakeholders, and we are aiming to make huge data collection, including the geospatial data collection, for understanding the national studies on challenges in integrated land use planning. What are the best practices relate with the LDN and land use planning, land governance, climate change adaptation, and biodiversity conversation. Also, we are aiming to collect the completed existing planned LDN and all land-based projects, implemented actions, and established targets. And also, we will collect the all innovative public-private partnership projects and tools, not only big scale one, but also the small scale one, and put them in a map to see better where are the gaps and how the countries are performing for their targets. And also we will deliver the guideline with these wonderful real examples, these collected informations. And out of these guidelines already exist by FAO, by our HPI guidelines, providing clear actionable steps to enter LDN into the integrated land use plannings in the countries. We are aiming to develop a open source land use planning tool, build on the trends.earth tool. Also, we want to develop national dashboards for integrated land use planning decision support system, including the detailed land resource databases. Here, we are giving too much importance of the geospatial data and dashboard in ILUP, together with the, of course, the land user, people, land users, and because it's extremely important providing the correct tools and data to the decision makers and land users for their better understanding. This geospatial data is very helpful for the ILUP, which is a highly complex mechanism as consider different aspects. And that's why it can, ILUP can strengthen national coordination and cooperation. And there are already available platforms, but they are usually only focusing on certain aims. That's why here we are putting all data together for ILUP decision making. And the geospatial data into the heart of the system to overcome the limited technical capacity and provide direct support and practical mechanism for the decision support tool. Here, these are the data that we would like to put together in the dashboard and with the providing the new tool. Here, bringing different data sets, building the capacity of the country or the land, let's say, which comes from where are the hotspots of land degradation, where are the key protection or biodiversity areas altogether, what are the drivers of the land degradation here, what are the local challenges, and what is the land suitability and potentials. These are giving the capacity of the land all together with the land resource database, soil, terrain, water, all data together. But also, which hasn't done yet, is the actions. What are the commitments made by the countries, establish targets, putting them on the map as a point or as a location, see all of them together, and land-based project locations and partnership, all coming from the collected information. And also we will get the gaps and the needs of the land users to understand better where are the project gaps, where are the financial gaps, and what are the benefits of achieving these targets. That's why also this new tool will help to the scenario development. This kind of dashboard we are dreaming about with the land resource database and all the targets together to see and how far we are from the targets. By this way, we will be achieve some of the expected outcomes in this project by collecting this subnational information. We will be able to better assess LDN implementation status and gaps, and we will be achieved to access broader stakeholders. Also, we will collect the data, like we will make a kind of a global LDN database, like the SLM database, and it will be really help to enhance or scale up the LDN practices globally. And also this will, as I said already, the great help for the decision makers, and this will help facilitate for the countries to transformative LDN investments and writing the projects. And there are already just last two slides. Sorry, I'm a little bit over time. Yeah, there are.
You're fine. You're doing fine.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. We have already started with this project, and with the literature review, that's work. coming from the LDN TSP2 deliverables. There are amazing data countries, 18 countries already detailed provided. Here we went through the targets already and see if there are anything already related with integrated land use plannings, and 1/3 of the countries are already put their targets related with the integrated land use planning. I think it's already very good start. And yeah, we also started with the stakeholder mapping survey. We are giving too much importance also to this one because getting the multi-stakeholder perspectives and diverse local knowledge and cross-sectoral views in design of all processes is extremely important. After making the stakeholder list broader, then we will able to access to those stakeholders to collect what is going on in the land, even the small scale projects, because we know that women led projects, cooperatives, there are amazing applications on land in the countries. Yeah, we have already received several responses, and this is what I was expecting. There are already some confusions about the terminology. What is land? What are the outputs? What is land use planning in the countries? Even it is different. Some of them is related with the soil or agricultural. Some of them is development processes. That's why it is even setting the terminology is extremely important, and the scale for entering to the countries for the actionable steps is extremely important. Yeah, we have also the report and brief. You can see the details like Feras presented previously. We have also this integrated land use planning and integrated landscape management to implementing land and degradation neutrality as an entry point, and support tools and science policy brief already providing amazing information, step phases based assessments, etc. You can find out in our website. Thank you very much, and I really I would like to thank GEO LDN colleagues. I think you are doing a great, very important job, and you have a very, very important role here, and that's why I thank you all, and you can reach me out from this email address, and I'm happy to answer any of your questions. Thank you. Over to you, Bernd.
Thank you very much, Ece, for this very rich presentation. Also looking at ILUP as a key mechanism for this quite difficult negotiation process between different environmental, economic, sociocultural goals in the countries and how it all fits together, and also shining the light on some of the new tools, geospatial data sets, which can be used in a true multi-criteria decision-making process. So especially this new ILUP LDN project you presented, and it sounds very intriguing. We are looking forward to hear more as the project now is implemented over the years. I think a lot of very interesting findings and country examples will come out of it. Yeah, you realize we are moving closer to the country level. And in the third presentation, we'll hear from Alisher Mirzabaev on case studies in Rwanda and Central Asia, and the title is Leveraging Synergies from Integrative Land Biodiversity Climate Action through Land Restoration. Alisher, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Let me share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, we can.
Okay. First of all, thank you very much, Bernd and Johannes, for the opportunity to speak today in this webinar, and also share both our results on this integrative land biodiversity climate action in Rwanda and Central Asia, but also talk a little bit linking to the integrated land use planning and what we are thinking of working together with FAO and UNCCD colleagues and ELD, Economics of Land Degradation Initiative in Mongolia next year. So these studies were done, of course, together with a big number of partners. You can see their logos there. I will not list all of them, but it was what I'm presenting is examples from Rwanda and Central Asia, which basically reinforce each other. But let us start with this one, which Aja also already showed. Land restoration is a multifaceted solution for land degradation, of course, but also for biodiversity loss, climate change. And importantly, I think we should never forget about food production, food insecurity, and malnutrition. And obviously, these three conventions, UNCCD, Climate Change Convention, and CBD, they have a common ground, which is on land. And this is at the heart of their action agendas. So the idea is by working together on land issues, we can unlock significant synergies in different ways. And integrated land use planning is also needed to realize these synergies across these cross-cutting objectives, because ILUP is a process that will help achieve this. Now you can see here what is a synergy. Of course, this discussion about synergies is not new. It has been around for decades. But at least for me personally, for a long time, it was a little bit fuzzy and abstract. I couldn't kind of touch it. How can I understand what is a synergy? In this work, what we try to do is to define synergies in a very kind of perhaps economic or maybe practical way. Let me say practical way. So synergies are something that will help either increase effectiveness, and in this context, it means by working together, by collaboration, we are able to achieve restoring more number of hectares than by working separately. This is a synergy. Or synergy needs to lead to efficiency. So efficiency means collaboration helps us to restore each hectare of land at a lower cost. Of course, working together by itself is some kind of a very good element on its own, but it needs to be also concrete. It needs to lead to some kind of specific gains in terms of efficiency and effectiveness. So significant investments are needed for land restoration in Central Asia and Rwanda, in any country. My belief, my kind of personal conviction that big part of these investment needs will have to come from national budgets, not from international support. They will need to come from national budgets for this to work. That means this coordinated implementation maximizes land restoration investment returns and also ensures efficient use of scarce public resources, taxpayer money. And synergistic implementation of NDC, NBSAP, and LDN also will help attract external funding. Okay. So when we looked at the situation in Rwanda sometime back already, and listed all these commitments under different conventions, we took all these commitments under LDN, NBSAP, and the Bond Challenge totaled 3.87 million hectares. Remember, Rwanda's total territory is only 2.6 million hectares, as you can see here. So what does it mean? It means these commitments are, by their nature, by definition, are not separate. They're overlapping. They're overlapping. So for that reason, I think it's important to also have it in mind, the synergies. And here you can see how they're overlapping very specifically. Of course, in this heat map, you can see that land management, different conventions emphasize a bit more certain aspects, like NDCs emphasize a lot on restoration because of mitigation aspects, NBSAP on conservation, and LDN on sustainable land management. But you can also see there are a lot of overlaps across them. And in this Venn diagram, you can actually see that 3 indicators are shared by all the 3 conventions, and then there are many, many other indicators that are shared across 2 of these conventions. And the same situation in Central Asia. I can see that my slides are moving by themselves, so I'm trying to catch up with them. So afforestation, reforestation, sustainable crop and pastoral and management, they are shared across all these convention documents. As a matter of fact, achieving LDN is an element of NDC in Uzbekistan, for example. So you can see obvious need for this kind of synergistic approaches. So when we did the analysis in Central Asia, I will be focusing more a bit on Central Asia in these slides. So first of all, we identified where is land degradation, where this land degradation is happening, looking at the last 2 decades, and also by different land uses, land covers. So you can see that $12 billion of land degradation costs roughly translates to about $700 million per year. So these are huge amounts. And then you can also see that in Central Asia, obviously grassland degradation is the highest cost element. And then when we are looking at the investment needs for land restoration, we have different scenarios accounting for climate change, for different cost of land restoration, for many different aspects. So under base scenario, we see $26 billion are needed to achieve those land restoration objectives, to achieve restoring all those degraded lands. And then depending on scenario, different other aspects. This is for a 30-year period because land restoration wouldn't happen overnight. It will take some time. And especially when we are replanting trees, it will take considerable time for them to start achieving full level of restoration. Here in this map, you can see the granular prioritization. So returns from land restoration in each pixel. Each pixel is about 10 hectares. So it's a very, very high resolution. So this kind of mapping will allow for prioritization of investment needs because there are some areas where every dollar invested will give back $1 point something. There are some areas it will give up $5 or $10 or $9. So that will make a lot of sense to emphasize in that manner. And then we can also look at different dimensions. For example, if you look from the carbon perspective, you can see these restoration activities, in most cases, they lead to higher carbon, but there are some cases where there are trade-offs. By restoring degraded, land, we can also lose carbon. For example, if we are, there was a rangeland, very arid rangeland with low carbon content, and which was now being used as cropland. And although overall ecosystem values, biodiversity, and so on and so forth, of rangelands can be higher, maybe carbon aspects can be smaller. So there is a need for also take account into this kind of trade-offs across these different dimensions. We can also observe this kind of trade-offs with maybe biodiversity, food production, which need to be accounted through these integrated land use planning approaches. An important element from this is people. I think what a lot of these big picture assessments on land restoration, investment needs, what they unfortunately sometimes miss is how does it touch people, ordinary people and communities. And here what we try to do is to look at the job creation potential, because 30 to 50% of land restoration costs are labor costs. So labor cost means wages, wages means jobs. So it will help create a lot of new jobs, especially in remote areas. But then when you look at these different types of restoration costs, establishment costs when you are planting a tree, opportunity cost, the cost of foregoing, the ecosystem you are foregoing, maintenance costs, annual. Transaction costs are the costs like research and development, administration, planning, monitoring, reporting, evaluation. This is where collaboration will help. This is where we will be able to achieve synergies, because other costs, they're more or less kind of difficult to reduce them. Establishment cost, 1 tree sapling will cost 1 tree sapling. But transaction cost, this is where we can have a lot of synergy gains. In Central Asia, if you look a bit more carefully at these transaction costs, you can see that here in all the different projects, JEF projects, for example, or national projects, you can see the share of this transaction cost in the overall project funding from 22% minimum to up to 56%. So monitoring, reporting, capacity building, information sharing, funding mobilization. So highest cost, as you can see from these, is monitoring, reporting, verification, from 10 to 15%. And this is also exactly what our stakeholder, it's moving too fast. Stakeholder dialogues also showed. So we have these 5 mechanisms for synergies: monitoring, reporting, and verification, capacity building, information sharing and research, administration and coordination, and invest mobilization. So these were the synergy mechanisms that were identified through stakeholder consultations, both in Rwanda and Central Asia, separate processes, but they sort of resulted in the same kind of synergy mechanisms, which kind of shows the robustness of these approaches. So I don't know what's happening. My slides are moving on their own, but I will just tell you that
Alisher, don't hesitate to move backwards. Also, we are doing fine in time, so maybe just go backwards every now and then if need be.
Yeah. Okay, let me reshare and go back. Probably I was doing some kind of fancy fancy presentation at some point, and then my slides are just dictating my speed already. So let me share back this and then talk a bit more. Perhaps I will just, I have only 2 slides left, so I will just, what I will do, I will just, don't go to the presentation mode, but I will just show you here, perhaps make it a bit bigger so that it's easier to see.
That's very good. Yeah.
So these are the synergy mechanisms that were identified in both case studies. Pretty robust because...
Sorry, for now we see a black screen, or do others see the slides?
Do you see the slides?
Oh, it's a black screen for now.
Black screen? Let me what about, oh, okay. Stop sharing. Let me do again. So let me do it again.
Sorry, I interrupted you, but I just found your presentation so interesting. So it's really worthwhile to take the time to.
Yeah, sorry for this. Let me do it again. Okay, let me. So I should be not using all these fancy things anymore. That's my conclusion for today. Okay, so can you see that now?
Yeah, brilliant.
Can you see now?
We can see your slides.
Yeah. Okay. So these are the synergy mechanisms. So what our modeling shows. So we used a modeling approach to identify. Okay, what is the potential gain from joint implementation? I will not go into details. 10,000 simulation runs and everything. What we found is that the biggest efficiency gains could be achieved by coordinated implementation in monitoring, reporting, and verification, MRV. It doesn't really make sense for 3 conventions and then other actors like Bond Challenge or not to have their own separate monitoring systems. It makes a lot of sense to have it jointly. In Central Asia, 24% efficiency gains by working together overall. So that means we can achieve the same land restoration objectives by spending 24% less money, or let us put it in a positive way, we can achieve with the same money 24% more restoration. And during these times when we are all facing such budget cuts every week, that's a huge kind of efficiency gain. In Rwanda example, we can see that land restoration can achieve 15% efficiency gains. Rwanda is a bit smaller because Rwanda is already quite centralized management of these 3 conventions approaches. Very already kind of, I think they are already having higher efficiency gains already. So what are the key takeaways? Joint spatial mapping for land conservation, SLM and restoration across the Rio conventions. And I think I'm very LDN target setting 2 is exactly planning to do this. And another important thing is joint monitoring and evaluation. It doesn't make sense to do separate things by 3 conventions. One is to come up with a kind of joint coordinated MRV system on this. Harmonized national action plans using integrated land use planning. Yeah. And also needs to have a bottoms-up approach based on ILUP, identifying social distributional effects of land restoration activities. Usually, the comment I get when I present this work is, you are so macro, you are very broad. What about people? What about people? So this is, I think, exactly what makes this combination of these three elements so ideal. They are so complementary to each other. On one hand, we have integrated land use planning, which is about stakeholder participatory approaches, taking into account all these diverse perspectives and moving forward together with people. On the other hand, this LDN target setting framework 2 provides this overarching framework with a special explicit mapping. And the economic analysis that we can provide to that one could actually try to bring these elements together into one so that we can have not only this kind of awareness raising and insightful information from the economic analysis or some framework from the ILUP, which is quite complex, as Ece was also mentioning, but put it all together into something that can be implementable by countries and also have some specific mechanisms around that. So this is the ideas we have for launching this study together with Economics of Land Degradation Initiative and FAO and UNCCD global mechanisms in Mongolia this year. And hopefully one important milestone that would be needed at the beginning, Feras and Ece, Johannes, is to come up with some kind of a methodological marriage. How we can bring together the three approaches in a way that is very, very coherent and makes sense. Probably we need to come up with something that is that works, even if it's not kind of ideal or comprehensive, but something that works on the ground. So with this optimistic note, I would just like to end my presentation. And sorry for this technological glitch. Thank you.
No worries at all. Thank you very much, Alisher, for this presentation to show us, synergies. It's not only an abstract concept, it plays a big role in the implementation of projects. And you showed us the hard figures also of what differences it can make to use combined approaches. One sentence which struck me is moving forward with people, to put people in the center, because they are always affected in one way or the other. Remember one sentence we used in mass land registration projects: each parcel is the livelihood of a family, or can be a livelihood of a family. So people are and should be very much involved in the planning of spatial resources. Thank you. A big thank you once more to the three presenters. I think we have seen how close the topics are together, how much sense it makes to use combined approaches to look for the synergies. I hope there are some questions from the audience.